Hey, we are starting our mend along and we're going to start with the running stitch. So you need a needle, find a nice sharp one, a thread and scissors. So I've picked this bright yellow so that it can really show up. And what you're going to do is thread your needle. I always stick mine in my mouth first to kind of get it nice and ready to get in there. Oh yeah, when you get old, it's hard to thread. Okay, what I usually do is I have a bit hanging down and I pull it out maybe a little bit more than a ruler, because if you make it too long, what ends up happening is you just get wicked knots, and that's so aggravating. And then you're going to knot the end. My way of knotting is I just double the thread, wrap it around my finger, stick it through. Then I've got these ends. I always give them a little trim. There we go. Okay, so you're going to start on the wrong side of your patch. And you're going to, this is just practice, so I'm just going to start here. And I'm going to come up. And I'm going to pull till I hit that knot. And it's kind of nice to start kind of in with your knot so that when you're stitching it onto your pair of jeans, you don't have the little knot pieces. Okay, and running stitch is just such a nice stitch to do. It's really, you're going down, you're going up. And when you're getting started, the trick is to not like judge yourself. You're going down, you're going up. I don't usually do it like this, but I'm just showing you this to kind of give you the idea of what's happening. I'm going to do one more. You're coming up, you're going down. I find when I do the stitch like this, it's tedious, it takes a long time, and my lines, they just kind of get wobbly and weird. So I like to do the running stitch like this. I'm coming up, and the trick is you're going to pull your thread all the way. Sometimes you have a little bit that kind of hangs in the back, and it's annoying. It's not the end of the world, but it definitely is annoying. Gonna go down, but then I'm just bringing it back up like that. Going into the patch, bringing it back up, just like that.
So Claire taught me how to embroider in about high school, but I never really did the running stitch because I always thought that you had to do the whole up, down thing, and it was just so tedious and tiresome, and so I just never did it. So I am a big fan now, especially of using the running stitch on patches because it is so easy, and of just taking multiple stitches when you do the running stitch. And this way you can make sure that you're staying in a line because you can use the needle as a guide to if you're doing straight lines. And there you go. I was like 3 stitches in one thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I almost never do it like that.
Oh,
so I've learned something.
I really like, especially on doing this with denim, when you're just doing sort of like the overlay part, not the stitching it onto, but just the top part. And if you're working with really thick denim, going all the way down and up can be really just hard on your fingers. So this way you can just grab the top fabric and a little bit of the bottom fabric and secure it, but not have to just pummel your fingers with it.
Especially if you think about that whole patch is going to be stitched, and the first patch that we're doing is a top on, so it's not going to be attached to the jean, but the next one we're going to be doing is a underneath one, and so that's like a lot of stitches.
It's a lot of stitches. And if you're working like with my husband's pants, he wears those heavy canvas like Carhartt pants, and so it's really hard to go through all those layers. So it's just near impossible. So this is a great way to really quickly do your running stitch.
And when you're now at the end of that row, let's say you're done stitching, how are you going to end that? Can you show everybody how to end?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you want to always end on the back side, right? So you want your knots hidden, unless you want your knots showing.
Which is a look.
Which is a look, so you can totally do that. So I take a little bit of the fabric, and just enough so that it's not coming through. Make almost a stitch and then go through it. And I am a weird superstitious person, and so I always do everything in sets of 3. So I always do 3 of these, even though it's probably total overkill.
I never think about how many I do, but I always do more than one because, I mean...
One is easy to let it slide out.
Right?
Yeah, so what are other really cool things about running stitch? I'm just going to show you, do another line of this. So come back up where you want to come back up. Is with running stitch, you can really vary the length of your stitches and it really changes how it looks. So if I take really big stitches with little smalls in between,
I never do that many. It's so cool to watch you doing that.
So it just looks so different. So even if I just kept going with this, just with varying the size of my running stitches, I can make a pattern just with this one stitch, which is really cool. So you can also take little tiny ones and then big spaces, tiny stitches, big spaces. So you can just change it up and get totally different looks to it.
So what's really cool is just this really simple stitch with some thread, a needle, and a piece of old denim. You can really have fun.
And make really cool, interesting fashion statements. So you can change your colors around and do rainbows in this. You could do stripes with your running stitches.
Circles.
You can do so many cool things with the running stitch. It's a great, easy first stitch to get going.